let's talk about where you can put your focus when you feel insecure about going back to the gym or going to the gym in general. So, I'm pretty sure that every person who has stepped foot in a gym and may not look like they're insecure at this current point in their journey has felt that sense of insecurity at some point. I know I definitely did. So I kind of have experienced this in three different ways. The first was when I just first started. I was young, really young, so you're already just insecure whenever you're. I mean, I was in high school, so it's you're already just feeling it at that point. And then the second time, not a gym, but when I went to an actual yoga studio, it was like intimidation overload. And I did not feel like I belonged. And it's not to say anything about people, it's just me, right? And then the third was after I had my son. Trying to go back to the gym just is a whole nother level. Maybe that's something that you can relate to, even if you can't necessarily relate to that aspect, because it goes for both. It's not just women. Obviously, my experience is going to be from a woman's perspective, but after that, because it's like you're also dealing with this whole identity crisis too, typically. At least that was my experience. And to add in that maybe some bodily insecurities that you have, it's hard. It's really hard to overcome that. And, when I first started back, I was lucky because, my husband was there, that I at least could have him as a buffer and I could work out with him. So I didn't feel as intimidated as I did just going by myself. But it took me a long time before I was comfortable sitting in the dumbbell area. If he wasn't there, there was a long time where I would not go over there by myself. But I finally just made myself do it. And I wish that it was some magic thing, but I kind of came up with these solutions and these tools to use in order to kind of get over that and get past it. So the first thing, I just ripped off the Band-Aid and just I knew a few things of what I would like to do, right? So we had kind of a routine that we did, so I would just do those things for the longest time. And that was enough that I started to kind of feel more comfortable and more myself. And I'm mainly talking about after I had my son, so because that's the most recent time that I felt this. But I'm not immune to it. I still feel like that, not a lot, but if I'm trying something new, if I go to a new class, there are times where I have to remind myself I deserve to take up space just like anybody else that's in there. If I want to try stuff, sometimes I feel intimidated because I'm it really just boils down to that. You think everybody's looking at you and you think that people are not only looking at you, but they're going to make fun of you. And that, I'm sure that you experience that. It's something that is just not a good feeling. Nobody wants to be made fun of. And especially if you had that experience as a kid, I had that experience as a kid. So it's just, no, I didn't want to go there. So I was always afraid to try new things because I was oh, if I mess up, what if somebody laughs at me, whatever. Now I'm okay, well, messing up is part of it. If I'm not messing up here and there, then I'm not training hard enough, because you have to fail some in order to get better. So, the first thing that I would say is you have to have a real sit down with your goals. What are they? They can be really simple. They can be, I just want to lose some weight, or I want to, feel confident, feel strong. Whatever it is, you have to be really clear though. And I think that was something that I kind of struggled with, is I knew an idea of what I wanted to look like, and I had a goal of a certain size I wanted to get to as far as how my clothes fit, but I wasn't clear other than that. So it was, like I said before, I took classes, I did these different things, and that helped me lose weight to get to the point where I was okay, I'm seeing that I'm getting to the size I want, but what else can I explore? And so that's where, like, I've been wanting to do some sort of competition for a really long time. I just wasn't really sure what my vibe was, because I'm not, yeah, I really dig this whole like hybrid athlete type thing. Anyway, so you have to just like, and even write it out or type it out, put it in your notes in your phone. Just say like, you know what, I want to, and it could even be that you just want to learn how to make commitments to yourself. It can be really simple. The simpler it is, the better. So it's like you make that time, set aside that time, maybe on a Sunday, because it's always nice to kind of get yourself in that mode of that habit. And you're like, do something really reasonable, because I think that's a big thing too, at least for myself, is like I tend to like overshoot, or I've had to really learn how to scale back so that I have realistic goals, so that one, I'm not pushing myself too hard, which I still do, but two, so that I can I also try to make it really simple and clear, because if I make it a realistic goal and then I achieve that, then that feels so much better once I complete it. It's like I always tell myself to look for the tiny wins. And so, maybe what it is you're like, well, I just want to set a goal where I go and I do 20 to 30 minutes of something. I just step foot in the gym twice a week. And that can be enough, Maybe you want to try a cycling class and you're nervous, so don't sit in the front. You can sit in the back. Nobody can see you. You can see everything that's going on, and you go from there. But just be realistic with yourself. If you set the bar way too high, then you're setting yourself up for failure, and you want to set yourself up for winning. So, that's what I want to do. I want to know that I'm going to come away from this feeling like accomplished. So yeah, sit down with your goals. Number one. Number two, go in with a plan. That was something that I tripped myself up for a long time, because I would just go in and I would just hit whatever machine was open. Maybe I'd go do some curls, and I don't know, again, keep it so simple. Make a list in your notes app or whatever it is, or if you're a spreadsheet person, I put all my plans in, I use numbers because I love Apple. But whatever it is, go in there. You could even take a real journal. Whatever your vibe is, just go with it. So go in with a plan, super simple. What are the movements that you can somewhat do? Squats. Can you do some curls? Can you do maybe some lunges? There you go. Can you walk on the treadmill for 5 to 10 minutes? There you go. Super simple. Like, that probably is about 20 minutes right there. And that's enough when you're starting out. Like, it doesn't have to be overcomplicated. You don't have to look at what other people are doing. It's really hard, right? You're going to compare yourself. That's just natural. You have to learn how to accept that. But you don't have to let it get in your head. Just use it as inspiration. Like, that's what I started to do too, is like, I know before I might look at someone and I would be jealous of them, and I'm like, well, that's not productive. So what can I do that if I'm jealous of them, I need to work like them? And that's kind of like the first steps to change that pattern in your brain, to where if you tell yourself you can't do it, then that's no, like, we're going to remove that from the equation. So you're going to tell yourself, I'm going to do something really realistic. Maybe you like to go on a walk outside, whatever it is, just getting that mode. But I'm talking about the gym, so we'll stick to the gym. But anyway, like, you deserve to take up the space just like anybody else. So claim it. Go put your stuff down at whatever bench or whatever chair you want to sit at. And if somebody invades your space, everybody's in la la land. That's the thing that I've realized is, like, I find it funny and a little annoying at times, but I'm the same way. I probably like don't pay attention to anybody around me. I can literally walk right past you, know you, and not even recognize, because I have created like hyper focus. That's something that maybe I'll kind of talk about. To be honest, I really don't even know how I acquired that. Sometimes I think it's a skill, sometimes I think it's not, because I don't want to be rude, but it is what it is. So anyway, going with that plan, do something really simple. There's so many things online too that it's like there's literally no excuse. You can find simple plans on like, I don't even know, like whatever, workout magazine. So now let's start to address, how do you talk to yourself once you're in there? Once you're knee deep in that feeling of, I feel insecure, how do you overcome it? So where can you put your focus? Your form. That's the simplest and easiest thing. If you are so in tune to what you are doing with your body, you don't have the space or capacity to worry about what anyone else is doing. So if you don't know how to do a proper squat, watch a YouTube video on how to do a proper squat. Practice until you feel comfortable doing a squat. You know, don't rush into something again where you know you're setting yourself up for failure. Use the assisted machines. If you don't know something, ask a question. Like, most people in there, especially if they are driven and they look more in shape, they're probably going to be more than willing to help you. So I know that if anybody ever stopped me, I would gladly help, you know, just not maybe in the middle of what I'm doing. But anyway, and then, so yeah, watch the videos, like figure out your form. That's the best place. Like once you start, that is literally my secret to how I get out of that mentality, is I just focus so hardcore on what I'm doing and how I'm doing it that there's no room for me to look at what Joe beside me is doing or whatever. So anyway, then the last piece of advice that I would give, and it might seem cheesy, and you might feel cheesy at the first few times that you try it, but I started really listening to a lot of motivational podcasts and on Instagram, like all these reels. And that's the other thing, like hack your Instagram, man. Like what I started to evaluate is like this, we're constantly consuming information. And I'm like, I would start to think like, man, this doesn't make me feel very good. So I'd like hide it or whatever it is. I don't remember how you do it, but I like just remove that. Like nobody says that you have to follow whatever. Like the more that you can try to change your perspective, that's the biggest takeaway of what I have figured out that has transferred into my regular life is my perspective. Like I know that when I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it, or I'm not going to commit to it. And so like I stand on my word. And so if I put something in my plan, I don't care if I start like crying during it, I am going to finish it. Now, within reason, of course. Like if you're actually hurt, that's whatever. I'm not giving advice on that. But anyway, I'll link one of the motivational podcasts that I like. It's like sometimes they have just like tracks on tracks of different people speaking, and I would just find one that resonated with me. And I would start every single night before I went to bed, I would only listen to motivational podcasts. So I woke up so hyped for my workout that it's like, man, I am ready. Like, what am I going to take on today? And I don't necessarily do that as much, but I still do. Like, I love to listen to, especially like all the reels that I'll find on Kobe or, you know, different people. Tim Grover, I read his book. I highly recommend that. I'll screenshot that too. Yeah, but it's like everybody, what you start to realize is everybody is literally so focused on themselves, they don't have time to worry about you. And unless you're just doing something like a super maniac and really crazy looking, nobody's gonna like laugh at your squat, you know? Like nobody, really genuinely nobody cares. So it's like, you are choosing this and doing this for you and you alone. And I wish if there's one thing that I hope I could give to people or share with people is just that the more that you start to turn that, all of that inward, and you just start to focus on yourself, it is like, I know everybody talks about it, but it's seriously like, let me be an example. You know, I have been through it, and I'm not just talking about the gym. It's like everybody has, right? And so just, if, you know, it's like the piece of advice where you start to recognize how you talk to yourself. Would you talk to your best friend like that? Would you talk to your child like that? Your spouse, your friends? Like, no, you wouldn't. So why are you not extending that same compassion that you would give to other people to yourself? So anyway, I hope that helps. I'll try to come up with other ideas if that's not enough, but focus on your form, set a plan, you got this.